to see everyone. Please be seated. Welcome back to Albany post-session. Nice to be here this time of year. I want to thank Assembly Member Dee Dee Barrett for joining us here today and for her vision that has in part led to why we're here today. So I'll give you a moment to speak in a little bit, but I want to thank you. And we have different representatives from around the state with very different perspectives on this issue, and we'll be leading a conversation led by our great Director of State Operations, Jackie Brace. So I'm looking forward to getting into the conversation. You know, I wanted to gather all of you because each and every one of you represent a perspective and ideas for us and how we're handling the advent of these invasion of hyperscale data centers around the state. I'm very focused on AI for public good. AI can be a tremendous force of good. So this is not hostility to the technology behind it, but it is simply saying we want to take a pause, we want to step back and make sure that New York is not only just first, but we're the first to get it right. And this is important. And I think going forward, after this period is up, people appreciate the thoughtfulness that is being worked on during this interim period to make sure that we're not disrupting our communities, that they feel a stake, that they're getting benefits, substantial benefits, that there's more conversation about the use of energy, limited energy that we have, particularly upstate, as well as the impact on the environment. So I know there's farmers represented here, farm committee, agricultural committee represented here, and I thank you for joining us. Concerned about preserving farmland. We also have leaders concerned about the impact on the environment. Local officials have joined us talking about the communities where some of them may choose to be host communities. Again, this will be a decision made by the localities. This is not what we're saying. You have that decision after this period of study, and also business leaders and energy leaders who want us to make sure we're striking the right balance, and that's why we're doing here. So as you know, artificial intelligence is literally transforming every sector of our economy. And I want New York to lead that transformation. It's our DNA. We always lead. And I'm excited about that. And we've shown many areas with our investments in artificial intelligence, whether it's Empire AI, the first in the nation to allow universities and researchers to harness the incredible power, computing power that is only right now in the hands of private companies. And we've democratize this. It is now in the hands of the public, and private institutions and public institutions across the state now have access to this. And I'm really proud of that initiative. We've done that a few years ago, and a lot of states were looking at us with envy, wondering how we could do that. I've also realized the extraordinary disruptive effects of artificial intelligence on the workplace. And yes, you can't hold back progress. You talk about the different industrial revolution and how disruptive that was, and the fact that many of us from upstate know the impacts of when the smokestack legacy companies had to leave town because technology had changed or there was foreign competition. You always have to keep reinventing yourself, and we're very good at that here in New York. And I want to make sure that we're poised to capture not just the future that it seems to have already arrived, but the future of tomorrow. So we're dedicating, I created an organization, a group called the Future Works Commission, studying the future of work in the era of AI, how we can harness this power, how we can make sure that our students are AI competent in the workplace, a basic skill that seems to be critically important, but also the disruptive effects, how we're going to manage that in a thoughtful way so we can do what was not done when people like my hometown lost their jobs at the steel plant. No one thought about them and their families and their lives and the disrupted, where we saw in Rochester and Syracuse, some of our major cities that lost these companies. I don't want to be in that position, having lived through the ill effects of that and how devastating it is for a community. So I want to make sure that we're smart about this, identify the industries that are most exposed, but how we think about transferring people into other jobs, or what does that do to college degrees, and what does that do to the next generation of kids coming up? What skills do we want them to have? So I'm excited about this. We already launched it, knowing how ambitious I am and how impatient I am. I've said I want the answers by this fall so I can incorporate them into our State of the State. So again, I'm just pointing out the different ways. In addition to, I'll just lastly talk about this, really excited about how we used AI to examine, 18 million words of laws and policies and regulations and fees in our state government, everything that governs how we live and how businesses conduct themselves. And I studied all that, not me, my AI magic and my extraordinary team, and came up with literally thousands of recommendations that are now in the hands of our agencies to execute or to make the human decision about how we use that data and do things smarter, more efficient, and cut red tape and cut fees. So I just want to say we're using AI in a positive way. But across the country, there seems to be a recent surge in applications to communities, and I'm not sure they're going to fulfill all of them, but they seem to have just done this kind of shock and awe effect. They're really applying all over the states. And before that goes further, I want to work with our communities and make sure that they have what it takes to get as much as they can. And some communities have the power and the wherewithal to negotiate better than others. I want to make sure that every community in New York that wants to do this, again, this is a choice. If your community wants to embrace this after the moratorium is over, I want to make sure that you have literally a template, a framework, we call our community investment framework, being developed by Empire State Development. All the things that we've seen that they've done in other parts of the country, and it is extraordinary, the benefits that can go to schools and community centers and helping others on the energy grid and making sure they pay their fair share. So we're going to do that. We're going to make sure that they do either come with their own energy source, which I said in my State of the State months ago. I said, come with your own energy source. No one has done that yet. Okay? I'm expecting that, or you have to pay a premium to tap into our limited grid already. And I don't think there should be tax breaks. Our residents work hard enough, our businesses work hard, and if you want to take advantage and benefit from our natural resources, our land, our talent, then we should not be using taxpayer dollars to support that effort. So they have plenty of money, plenty of money. My residents would like to keep more of their money in their pockets, and so that's what I would talk about for all these reasons. And again, asking all of them to contribute into a larger grid fund, because we do have to make massive investments in the transformation of our energy grid so we can deliver not just for the families and businesses of today, but those of tomorrow. So all of these are part of why we put this pause in place, this nation's first moratorium on hyperscale data centers. So I just want to say, I want to hear from all of you. We've got some questions from people all the way from the White House on down. But I'm going to posit this, that after this time is up, the companies that are asking for certainty, they want to know the rules of the road. Tell us how it's going to be. And we've heard from a number of them, the ones who build this, who are saying, we're okay with this. Tell us what we have to do to be successful and get approvals. And that's more beneficial than putting us in limbo. And so we're going to be the ones that are the thought leaders in this space. We already are. And, if the president thinks handing over taxpayer dollars and, without conditions and just saying, come on in, and somehow that's considered liquid gold, I just disagree with that assessment. We have a different interpretation of what the benefits can be. And so we do things differently. I'm not letting, these big corporations call the shots in our state. We welcome you. We want to benefit from your success, but you're successful. You also have to make sure all New Yorkers are successful as well in the process. That's how we do things in New York. And so I'm feeling good about this. I'm excited to continue to talk about this around the state. This is my first of many conversations with people who really do care about this issue and are concerned and responding to, the public sentiment, which says, please step up and help us. Don't let this just happen to us. And I had one more thought I want to share before we turn over. I woke up today thinking about my hometown again. Thought about the skeleton of the huge Bethlehem steel plant that went on for a mile over pristine prime waterfront land, forever destroying that. It shut down maybe 1982. That skeleton is there and it's still just decaying. It is a haunting reminder of an industrial past, hired 20,000 people, and I knew a lot of them. They're family members. But when a company takes up that space and the water and consumes our resources, then turns out the lights and walks away one day, communities are left with this. That's not the future I want for New York going further. And that's also very much on my mind, how we manage what happens when the next technologies, the next innovations that say that's no longer required, what happens to the facilities they created? That's what I want answered as well. Assemblymember Dee Dee Barrett, tell us what's on your mind.
Thank you, Governor, and thank you for that final thought. I think about that when I drive through my own district and see even old solar panels that are still out there in the field that aren't being used right now, that we really have to be thinking about the future of the waste in all of this and how we address it as well. So thank you for having me here today. As you heard, I'm Assemblymember Dee Dee Barrett, and I represent the beautiful 106th Assembly District, which has farms. It has only one city, the city of Hudson, and it has 28 different municipalities, towns, and villages. So I'm the sponsor of the Responsible Data Center Development Act, which passed both houses, and that was with bipartisan support. And I am chair of the Assembly's Energy Committee. And as in that role for the past 4 years, my office and I have been following data center issues for some time. Last October, we held an extensive public hearing to explore the impact and the growth of data centers and how to protect ratepayers from the increased costs associated with these large data centers, as you heard the governor say. And out of that hearing came our AC/DC Act, which holds large energy users responsible for paying their fair share of the energy needs. And our idea was to do it through a new rate classification. I know the governor's talked about her Energize New York, and hopefully that will be part of that. Since that hearing less than a year ago, the requests for hyperscale data centers have grown exponentially. According to NISO, there are currently at least 30 large data centers seeking interconnection right now, and collectively, those 30 centers could consume as much power as all of New York City. This rapid acceleration demonstrates the need to act quickly, and I thank Governor Hochul for recognizing that urgency and for issuing our first in the nation 1-year moratorium on new hyperscale data centers as part of Tuesday's executive order. New Yorkers across the state have made it clear they support a pause in building of large-scale data centers. They've read what's happening in other states, and I think it's important that we learn from them. We heard Bloomberg News' analysis that there's increases of more than 250% in electricity in some areas that have a lot of large-scale data centers right in the surrounding area. People want to understand the impacts of these large-scale data centers on our natural resources, on our communities, and on our energy costs, something that we deal as legislators with all the time from constituents who are already struggling with high energy costs. I think we all want to understand these things, recognizing as well that in New York State we have an aging grid, and this is going to put tremendous stresses on that. So I thank the governor as well for authorizing in her EO the creation of the New York Grid Acceleration Fund. This mechanism will identify grid infrastructure improvements and require large-scale data centers to invest in new dedicated clean electric generation and battery storage, a really important issue that I feel we need to do much more work with, especially long-duration storage. This initiative dovetails nicely with the bill that I carry on grid modernization, and it will help ensure reliable, resilient, affordable, safe, and secure electric grid of the future for our children, our grandchildren, and the future of our beautiful state. Governor Hochul's executive order is a timely and important first step, and I thank the governor and her team for their partnership in working with the legislature as we tackle these very critical and thorny issues of our time and in our state. We, as the legislature, are an equal branch of government, and I really do believe that we are more effective when we work together. And I thank you for reaching out to us and being part of this, and to my colleague, Senator Gonzalez, the other day. There is more in our responsible data center legislation that remains to be discussed, and I look forward to working with the governor, her team, Senator Gonzalez, and my assembly colleagues to get those priorities addressed for the state of New York. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Governor, thank you. And thank you for your leadership here. We've got, as you said, a diverse group of stakeholders, and I want to make sure we hear from all of them. Councilor Anane, I want to start with you. You are a council member in the city of Albany. There have been sort of talk about a data center in and around Albany. What I'm really curious about is that, we in government are very familiar with hyperscale data centers. Are your constituents also familiar? When we say hyperscale data center, does the everyday person in your area know what we're talking about? And what more could we do to help them understand the changes that are happening?
First, I just want to thank you, Governor, for having this roundtable. When we talk about the hyper data centers, many in my community are really not familiar with the impacts and also as informed as they should, particularly when it comes to the data center and the hyper data centers. There's two discussions that's taking place right here in the city of Albany. There are some people more in the affluent neighborhood who have wrote off data centers, and there are some people in my community that are open to maybe what the community benefits could be. But at this moment, and just want to thank you, Governor, because the pause is so important for them to educate themselves about the adverse impact that potentially it could have on our environment, adverse impact it could have on the utility bills. But there are some people that are also open to the potential benefits, whether it's a community center that potentially could come, a community benefit agreement that could be in place as a discussion, workforce development, housing opportunities that could be done. So my colleague, Deb Zama, who introduced and passed it on Albany County Council to do a pause, I believe is a step in the right direction to really hear from the residents and educate the residents of what the potential could be. Artificial intelligence is here to stay, and I think that many of my constituents would love to learn more about the impact. So thank you so much, Governor.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to turn to you. No, I'm going to turn to Rob. Sorry about that. Ned, I'm coming to you next.
Okay.
Rob, you're the CEO of Center State, which is, economic development, but in an equitable and a sustainable way. And you're in Central New York, which obviously we are making, under the governor's leadership, huge investments through Micron and the development out there. Can you tell us, you've written about this recently, how does someone in business think about and, from your perspective, explore the issue in detail with the state? And why is it important that we take a path that gives us the time to do that work?
So first of all, Governor and team, thank you for hosting this and for having this dialogue. Let me start by saying that for all the data center projects that have come through Central New York in the post-Micron environment, we have not found one that meets our threshold for providing the important threshold of value to our community in exchange for the resources they're looking for. That said, we also agree that AI is the future. New York needs to be in the game. New York should lead at the head of the table. I think that there are really three core conversations that we should be talking about and thinking about. There are, I'm sure, more. The first and foremost is the strain on the utility grid, which is already under significant pressure, the growth of energy-intensive industries. These hyperscale investments offer us a once-in-a-generation opportunity to modernize our grid and to require large-scale partners from out of state with deep pocketbooks to help support the modernization of the grid that can help New Yorkers. That has to be done thoughtfully. It has to be done right. Second, there are a lot of concerns, and we hear them in our communities. We have the town of Clay, the town of Lysander, who've passed their own local moratorium, that are concerned about impacts on environment and on water. And I think this is a place where New York has a demonstrated track record of holding partners, including corporate partners, to account for bringing the best-in-class sustainable technology and really innovating around how to minimize those environmental impacts and improve, frankly, hopefully accelerate our path along New York State's climate goals. Third and finally, to me, the conversation around data center, the value proposition they can offer back to local communities, I find all too often sits with a conversation about a small handful of jobs in a large building, sometimes around the tax base, But the real value in these data centers, as we know, is not 50 or 100 jobs. It is the compute power that exists inside of them. And finding a way to work with some of the most sophisticated and capable companies in the world to access that compute power and put it to work for local governments, for schools, for research institutions, for economic development, job creation, and innovation. That, I think, is the opportunity that I hear all of you talking about as we talk about this pause and building a forward-looking framework. You've done this before. You did it with the Micron project, and as a result of the strong leadership, you put our community in a position to negotiate one of the largest community investment frameworks in the history of the country because New York State empowered us with a policy framework, and I think we should be doing that again.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor.
Thank you, Rob. Jeff, I'm going to come to you now. Jeff, you own Crisp Brothers Orchards. We were talking about your apples, and you've brought one with you today.
Yeah.
Best apples in the Hudson Valley. You're a fourth-generation farmer, and you're, as I said, the co-owner of a pretty large orchard in the Hudson Valley. As the owner of an agricultural-focused business, what concerns you the most with the resources you need to run your business and how that overlaps with the resources that hyperscale data centers consume?
Thank you for the question, Jackie. Thank you, Governor, for the invite.
Jeff.
And I might just provide a little more quick background. I'm fourth generation, and I'm here with my wife, who I found 45 years ago to do half the work along with our team. We grow on about 700 acres, and I'm blessed to have my daughter and son doing the day-to-day operations now, and even more blessed to have 6 grandchildren, potential 6, well, they are 6th generation. We'll see if somebody comes back. So I would like to mention, though, this is a pink lady, and it was grown in 2025. Our state-of-the-art storage is keep it in very good shape. We're packing even to this day, right through the summer to loop into the next growing season, load in about 3 tractor-trailer loads of apples a day, which is 100,000 roughly apples on each of those trucks. And we have a wonderful team at the farm for sure. Getting back to your question, the 700 acres, we have drip irrigation on every tree. You wouldn't think drip by drip it would be very much water. It's millions of gallons. So water is huge. And we have to be 100% proactive on environmental sustainability. We installed a small solar field to help power one of our coolers last year. Our packing line uses various technologies, and the storages in the packing line consume considerable electricity, and we need reliability there. And we have to have it when we need to cool apples in the fall and that sort of thing. So we depend on water quality, electricity, and now technology and AI. And it's really in a position that could change how we do things, which has been happening all my life. But one thing in talking with my son this morning that occurred to us, and we work closely with Cornell University on research, 2 of their scientists that work on robotics and AI visited the farm last month. And it occurred to us that technology could really help be a lifeline to small farms where it can be spread so easily. And so thank you, Governor, for the thought process of smart planning and not putting up roadblocks, but figuring out a positive way forward with these data centers that are going to be so important to all of us.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Ned, I told you I was coming back to you, and I am. Ned, you're president of Scenic Hudson, and 2 values that you hold and that we share are smart growth and community input. How do you think that the governor's executive order aligns with those values and makes space for that when it comes to these data centers?
Well, great. Thank you, Jackie, for that good question. Governor, thank you for your leadership, your vision, for teaming up with Assemblymember Barrett in putting New York State first in the nation again on something important. I'll come back to your questions, but I did want to thank the governor for your support in helping us repurpose a former factory left for dead right next to Walkway over the Hudson that we've turned into our new headquarters and a community resource in the city of Poughkeepsie. So we couldn't have done it without you, and I think it's just the kind of thing that we want to see happen throughout the state. So your vision will help with that on that front. So smart growth is absolutely critical. We are not an anti-growth. We're a pro-economic development organization, but doing it right is so important. We want to, and your seeker bill ultimately turned out to be something that's going to reinforce smart growth. So in conjunction with your moratorium, we're going to have the opportunity to really plan for data centers in the right place and with the right restrictions that protect our water, protect our air, ensure that the community benefits are realized. And if these were allowed to go forward without the community having the bargaining power, the results could be disastrous for our entire environment in the state. So I also want to thank you for your emphasis on renewables as part of that reinvestment in the grid. You've been a leader on that on so many fronts, and we're here to work with you on it. So this is going to be good for the Hudson Valley, good for New York State, good for the entire nation, because people are going to see what New York is doing under your leadership and collaboration with the legislature. And so we're thrilled and grateful to you.
Oh, thank you, Ned. Appreciate that.
Thank you. Supervisor Young, I'm coming to you. You have the pleasure of representing Malta. And one of the things about Malta in New York is that you are home to Global Foundries, just an absolute critical employer and innovation leader here in New York. What are your priorities when it comes to how local governments and state government can work together to confront the challenge of big new hyperscale data centers?
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you, Gardner, for your leadership in many aspects of the state of New York. And thank you, Assemblywoman Barrett, for heralding this. One of the things that we're concerned about, not only the town of Malta, but also Saratoga County in general, is protecting our large-scale industry that employs a lot of people. As you know, as you said, home to Global Foundries, which currently employs about 3,000 people. We expect them to announce very soon that they will begin construction on a second fab that will employ another 1,000 employees. And we want to make sure that we don't interfere with their utility needs. As you know, a fab takes a tremendous amount of energy and water. And also in Saratoga County, Regeneron will be opening a facility in the city of Saratoga Springs, and I think we want to be sure that we protect those industry from sapping all of the energy, and for an industry that really doesn't have any real employment opportunities. So, and again, for everybody, the residents, we don't want our residents to bear the cost. So.
I spent 14 years in local government, Supervisor, so I appreciate your role. And we used to talk about the highest and best use of land. Mm-hmm. And when you're talking 3,000 jobs plus another 1,000 jobs, that is a very good use of our land. Because I'm laser focused on, again, knowing my history of what a community looks like when the jobs are gone. My focus has been on job creation, job retention. So you're absolutely right about, in an era of limited resources, and I'd like to expand our energy grid, which is why I'm focused on nuclear possibilities, and I want to move quickly on this and continue what we did with hydroelectric power and battery and solar. There's so many ways that we could just fortify our resources. So if we had plentiful energy, we could make different decisions, right? But when it's a time of more scarcity and limited for now, then we have to go with to job creators, in my opinion, as well. And so that's what we're trying to manage through this conversation. But you're spot on, and I appreciate your thoughtfulness as, the proud town that hosts a business that we're incredibly, proud of to have in New York.
The pause is important to be sure that where they are located is where they can do the most good.
Yep.
So,
Well said, well said.
We're going to stick with this theme and stick with local government. My governor, my mayor. Mayor Noble, City of Kingston, same question. When it comes to how local and state government can work together and the priorities you have around how we manage data centers, what are they?
Yeah, thank you, Governor, for the opportunity. And I think one of the things, Jackie, that this moratorium and the community investment, framework really lay out is that it puts local government in charge. And I think that is so critical to be able to make sure that we can put our constituents first and really be able to create those sustainable jobs. And that's what cities across the state, didn't always have that as their laser focus. And we brought in, at some points, unsustainable jobs. And we had these boom and bust cycles that really hurt our cities across the state. And now, I think what we've seen is that our communities, under your leadership, Governor, have really been focused on trying to build our economies from the ground up. Taking the lead, being able to make sure that we're getting the support from the state to be able to ask these companies the right questions. And that's what this framework really lays out, is that any elected official across the state of New York can now pick up this framework and be able to go to the bargaining table and be able to ask these questions. And oftentimes, we've seen these large companies trying to wine and dine these local elected officials and pull the wool over their eyes about what the benefits are really going to be. Now that won't be able to happen. And I think that for me, that's what's so special about the opportunity for this pause to occur, the fact that you're even asking for additional public input from local officials on this framework just shows how much you're really trying to reach out to be able to get this to be the most successful process possible. So on behalf of my constituents, we're really nervous about large mega-scale data centers, about the impacts that they could have both onto us, but really all of our communities. We're the only city in our county, but we know that one of these landing anywhere in Ulster County is going to impact our residents in a negative way unless we put this framework in place. So thank you.
Well said, well said.
Lori, I'm coming to you. Lori, you have fought for years as the executive director of the Public Utility Law Project on behalf of ratepayers and on behalf of energy consumers, and particularly to keep energy rates down. How do you see the pause, and how do you see that helping energy consumers, ratepayers in New York?
Well, thank you so much for the question. Thank you so much, Governor, Assemblymember Barrett. Good to see you. And thank you for including Pulp in today's discussion. We are a small but mighty nonprofit that serves the entire state. We have a hotline, and so we have vulnerable, low-income customers call us every single day. We've been very busy. So to my team, thank you so much. They work so hard every day to help people with their utility issues. And when we're working with customers, we hear their questions and their concerns, and many of them are very worried about the data centers. What does this mean, for the reliability of their electricity coming into their homes, to the cost itself? We just came out of a budget cycle where significant work was done on affordability on that utility side and taking the rate cases and looking at them deeply. So there's this momentum that we don't want to lose. And so the executive order is extremely important for the utility side and the cost, because it gives us that pause to roll up our sleeves and do the work that we believe needs to be done. The number of questions we have for the Energize New York proceeding goes from, do we need specific data center, AI data focused rate classes for them? Do we need demand response, mandatory programs to protect that grid? And just really forward thinking so that we're not sticking ratepayers with potential stranded assets that they'll be paying for years to come if there is that bubble burst, and unfortunately, maybe they leave. So very much excited to do the hard work along with the state agencies involved, but just having that pause gives us that time to really make sure we have all the questions down, we're working through them to get the answers, and having that smart plan. So thank you.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you. Deshauna, Wiggins. You are the president and CEO of the Albany Black Chamber of Commerce. And so you work with small businesses and medium-sized businesses here in the city. What are their priorities? When we think about what we should be doing over the next year, what are your members' priorities for us to look at and study?
Absolutely. Our priorities are really stacked. First, Governor, thank you so much. You've been a champion for the chamber in so many ways, and just like your leadership there and what's coming to the city of Albany, I'm so grateful that you've decided to look at this moratorium and take a step back to slow things down. And our members are really concerned about what happens to them personally as a resident, as well as what happens and how they may be displaced as a business owner. And so what we're keeping top of mind is wanting to make sure that when these developments are coming in, when these data centers are looking at a particular area, what that exchange will be when it comes to the businesses benefiting, working with them in developing this, or being X'd out, being no longer useful. We want to make sure that as this is growing, again, that as the governor said earlier, that there's a template that's laid, that the state is not making it mandatory or not, but giving us some guidelines so when we consider it, the long-term effects can at least be put at bay a bit. I think a lot of times it sounds good. We see a sample size of what has happened in a different city or a different state, but down the line, it ends up costing everyone. The day-to-day players, its residents, its business owners, and the state, right? Those small business owners are needing relief, right? And they're going to complain to someone, and it usually makes its way back to the governor's office. So this allows us to take inventory, to pause, to make sure that we're protecting those natural resources, as well as our business and residents. And so our business owners and our members are really just concerned at how this affects them overall, and how they can be a part of that process.
Thank you. We're going to shift our geographical focus for our final participant. Dan Keller, you are the president and CEO of the Regional Office of Sustainable Tourism, and I have to say we have great acronyms at this table. PULP, Roost, fantastic. So will you talk to us, you're in the North Country, talk to us about, the North Country's reliance on tourism, and what you see the sort of data centers affecting your businesses and residents as it relates to tourism, and why do you support the governor's EO from the perspective of North Country tourism?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you very much for having me. Governor, thank you very much for your leadership on this, and Assemblymember Barrett, thank you very much. This moratorium is going to very much help our policymakers make sure this is done right, and not just solve for the anticipated challenges of hyperscale data centers, but also those unexpected challenges. We get to wait and see how it goes elsewhere and fix their challenges as well. So very grateful for that. In the Adirondacks, 37% of all of our labor income comes from tourism, and 81% of our businesses employ fewer than 10 people. So they're operating with low volume of work and very thin margins. We are also a housing cost burden region where 25% of our residents are housing cost burden, and 10% of them are paying 50% or more of their income on housing. So a $100 or $200 increase in their monthly energy bill means the decision of, do I pay my bill or do I pay for some daily need that I have? And so this is impacting our ability to have a workforce. We just put out a survey. 59% of our businesses have cut their hours, or they've cut their services, or turned down business because they don't have a workforce. And if energy costs continue to rise in the Adirondacks, we're going to have to continue to turn down business. Over the last 3 years, we've had record numbers of visitors consecutively coming to the Adirondacks. And so it's a frustration to not have the workers to be able to capitalize on our success in bringing people there. So we're very much grateful for this opportunity to hit pause and come up with solutions that solve these challenges. In the North Country, there's also palpable excitement about your all of the above energy proposals, particularly around nuclear energy. We would love to see that sited in the region north of the Adirondack Park. We think that would help to bring down the energy costs, help deal with some of these hyperscale data centers, and also enable our small businesses to have more access to affordable energy. And of course, lower energy means more economic feasibility for the Olympics in 2042, which you have been a very big supporter of. So thank you again for your leadership on this, and we look forward to working with you to achieving all of our goals.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. It's always good to get an Olympics comment in there. Well, that concludes our conversation and dialogue today, and I want to thank all of you again, and Governor and Assemblymember Barrett, thank you both for your leadership.
No, I always take so much in these conversations, so I thank you as I'm absorbing all of this, the different perspectives. And I think what's important for people to hear is no one said we need a ban. No one is saying that this is the end. People are saying, let's get it right. And that has been my premise from the beginning. Let's just get it right. We have a lot of smart people. We have people we have to protect, communities we have to protect, but also, show our openness as an incubator of ideas and, that innovation capital that we're so proud of. And so I'm excited about this challenge, and all of your voices are going to be weighing in on how we make sure that at the end of the day, at the end of the time frame, we do get it right. So thank you.
Okay, we have time for some on-topic questions from the press while we have our local leaders here with us today.
Have you heard from or spoken to, in the lead up to issuing this order and subsequently to issuing the order, have you heard from some of the major AI firms that are out there, Anthropic, OpenAI, folks of that nature, and just if you have, what sort of feedback have you gotten?
Yes, a lot of my staff was in contact with many of them, and just, basically saying what our objectives were. We've also been receiving, whether it's by tweet or articles or conversations, some feedback. I think there's a project here in Albany, the Kenwood project that's quoted in the news today is saying, we're okay with this. We want to get it right. And as I sat down with some industry leaders and some New York City industry leaders yesterday, all business wants is to know the rules of the road. Tell us, give us the certainty. And this will be the state that can lay out the roadmap for you, so you don't have to wonder how far you have to go and what is the likelihood of success if you come to our state and spend time and energy applying, what the likelihood of approval is. So I think that at the end of the day, there's always a reaction, like, oh no, this is going to be a ban. We're confirming that it's not a ban. We're not entertaining that. We're talking about a pause, a moratorium right now to allow us to ask all the questions that I have, all of these people have, and people across the state have, to make sure we get it right. So yes, there were conversations with the representatives. Is there anything else you want to say on that?
That's right.
Okay.
The executive order moratorium, I believe the cap, or it's 50 megawatts or higher, that defines the hyperscales affected by this moratorium. The original legislative bill moratorium had 20 megawatts or higher. Can you talk about maybe what decision-making process led to that sort of difference in defining a hyperscale type data center of 50 megawatts or higher versus 20?
We're very concerned about making sure we did not sweep up into this definition the data centers that are supporting, bank back office operations, or supporting our medical institutions or our research centers or our hospitals. And so, knowing that the threshold of 50 megawatts basically is equivalent of powering 50,000 homes, we thought that's definitely in the definition. But, we just wanted to make sure that we didn't sweep up in the definition those enterprises that, serve a public good and are important in our smaller scale.
Governor, one of the things as it regards to your nuclear plant and data centers, in NYSERDA's analysis, they talk about how large energy users can sign power purchase agreements at potentially a higher price, which can offset the cost of new nuclear for everyone else. And I'm wondering, as you go into the future, once the rules of the road are established with data centers, is that a hope you have, that data centers will be built in the state and they will sign power purchase agreements with the new nuclear facilities you're looking to bring online?
Well, I want to build the nuclear quickly. And this is one of the first conversations I had with President Trump, I think 3 days after he was elected in 2024. I said, I want to tell you my vision for New York is that I really, truly want to be aggressive in launching nuclear. I said, right now it's usually a 10-year process. 7 of those years of approvals occur at the federal level. So if they can examine, that process, we can look at what we do here to speed this up. And there's an opportunity right now that we're waiting for an answer from the federal government. Department of Energy has some low-interest loans that we're interested in. But yes, I want to look at how we can use, not just for data centers, but as I'm building the next wave of semiconductor manufacturers or the component parts that they're going to need, and Rob knows about what we're trying to do is build up an entire upstate ecosystem surrounding innovation. You have Regeneron expanding, you have Global Foundries expanding, you have IBM investing an enormous amount of money in quantum computing all upstate. So nuclear is the answer. So yes, but the nuclear is not there yet. That's why I want to make sure that as we get these requests and demands for more energy consuming entities like these large scale data centers, I have to say, wait a minute, do I have enough for this plus the job creating enterprises like we talked about? And so that's the balance we're striking. But yes, I would hope by the time I get the nuclear built, which I'm speeding up, I want small modular reactors. When I say bring your own power, there needs to be a time when any large enterprise, the next Micron that comes, brings their own small modular reactor, powers their facility, but also has surplus to be able to help power the grid and the surrounds. That is what we'll be asking for. That is my vision for the future.
Governor, one thing we've heard from people who have concerns about the moratorium is that companies looking to invest, looking to build these centers are going to begin looking somewhere else, even if the moratorium is only a year. What do you say to that argument? Is that something that's convincing, and was that a factor in the time of the moratorium?
There is so much demand for hyperscale data centers right now. They are undertaking what I would call sort of a shotgun approach. They are trying to put in applications all over the country, everywhere. In fact, that New York has 30. That's fairly recent that we had such demand. I think, is it St. Lawrence County?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
St. Lawrence County. The proposals that are put forth for St. Lawrence County alone, one county in the state of New York, if we were to power all of those, it would consume all the energy that I'm hoping that my nuclear moonshot would consume. Nuclear energy would all go to the data centers in one county. So I understand that they may be looking at other states. They already are building in other states. And I want to make sure that when they're ready for New York and we're ready for them, that the communities get the enormous benefits that I think they should derive. And right now they're getting tax breaks from some communities because we did not step in and say, listen, do you know what they're doing? I have a whole list of what they're getting in other states, what communities are getting. $143 million in South Bend, Indiana, a small community, through a series of benefits. And so they can go there right now. I think when they look for the state that has the most clear road ahead, that we remove uncertainty and say this is what our expectations are, but you meet them, you'll be able to move forward, they'll come back to New York. I have no doubt about it. But they'll come back to New York on our terms. That's the difference.
It was mentioned several times that leveraging the updated infrastructure. Would the current grid be able to sustain a data center, or does there need to be an updated infrastructure in the grid?
Well, again, I just gave you the St. Lawrence example. We can't sustain that. We cannot. That's a simple answer. I cannot support with the current grid without either creating shortages for existing businesses and families or driving up costs for ratepayers. Something has to give here. Is there anything you want to add to that about what we need to do to build our grid resilience? And that's why when the companies do come, the data centers do come, I want them to pay into a statewide grid fund to help us build the improvements that we have to, so it is not put on ratepayers.